Good evening, or good morning, I should say. It's around 5 or so in the morning. I'm leaving Kiryat Arba, Hebron, the holy city, to head back to Gush Etzion. And today was an interesting day. I learned a little something or other I thought was worth sharing. I visited a client in a mental health institution who is under in a closed ward, and it's part of what I do to help clients reach out to people, etc. And mental health institutions are very good places to learn things, to observe, to feel, to think. I would never wish anyone to be there overnight. Unless that's their job, but it's not a joke. It's very serious business, because the mind is an organ of the body like every other part of us, and when the mind is damaged, it makes this world much more difficult, obviously, and people suffer. At the height of their powers, people suffer. How much more do people suffer when their functionality is challenged? But you see a lot of people that seem pretty good. And I talk with people when I go to these places. We talked about the war of Gog and Magog. We talked about the Messiah. They see my face and my beard, whatever, and they figure this is what we're going to talk about. So I don't set the agenda. We talked about the coming of Messiah. We talked about this war. We talked about everything that's good, People like to talk. It's good to talk, It's part of our mental health, I think. And I wondered, do all these people really need to be locked down here? And of course, they're there under a professional supervision, and nobody has, I believe, a malevolent intention to keep people locked up, unless it's for their own good or the good of other people, because they're dangerous people. But there was a story I heard that was very interesting, that there was a very large mental health institution that was eventually closed. I don't want to get into details where and when and who and what, because it's not a story to point fingers about, but rather to learn from. And the large mental health institution, it was decided by the Board of Governors of that state that they would close. And that the inmates, the patients would be sent to other hospitals in the area. And the final day came, and they put all the patients in buses and took them to other hospitals. The next morning, you're not going to believe this, there was a line of about 10, 15 patients standing outside the gate. They wanted to get back in their hospital. It was their home, where they had lived for years, some of them. And they wanted back in. They didn't want to go to any other hospital. What does that teach us? Okay, on this one level, we could say it teaches us that people are creatures of comfort, or maybe comfort's the wrong word here. Habit, I believe, is the cliche I was reaching for. Creatures of regular, everyday routine. Routines make up their lives of people in these institutions. The time they eat, the time they bathe, the time they watch a movie, the time that they go for a walk, whatever it might be, the time they speak with their doctor. So, but in talking to them, what I find over the years, and including today, when you start to talk to people on a real level, which is really important in all our communications, we have to try to get to that real level. There's always blame. There's always this element of blame in every story you hear. And And after a while, you start to think, well, there must be a lot to blame out there. A lot of people are suffering, a lot of people feeling victimized. And when people are victimized, they're victims. But it's different when the victimization is played out over and over and over again, and it becomes a feature in the person's story, a regular item they consistently roll back to and play it again. So people are victims when things happen to them. But does that mean they necessarily are going to be a victim their whole life? I would like to think not. I would like to think that a person can be victimized and then not carry that around on his shoulders his whole life, because that's going to change your life. And it becomes a persona unto itself. It becomes a personality feature of the individual who carries around that feeling of being a victim. Now, you see all levels of victims. There are those who've had crimes perpetrated against them. There are those who have been abandoned by their families. There are those who are, hanging out with dangerous people and they get hurt. There's all kinds. A lot of people blame God. A lot of people blame their families. But this feature of blame always seems to come around with the idea of being a victim, right? Because somebody did this to me. Now, it's for a religious person, it's easy to reach up onto your shelf, onto the top shelf of your closet, and pull down the box that says, it's all from God, and it has to be good, and therefore I have an answer. I have an easy out. But usually that answer, it's all from God, which I believe is true, everything is from God. But if I use it as a escape hatch, I'm not sure I'm going to be connecting to the level that I need to connect to stop being a victim. See, if I say it's all from God, but I'm still a victim, then what does my default option that it's all from God do for me? What does it do for my freedom, my mental health, my happiness, my ability to function? I say it's all from God, but I'm still going around telling the world, do you see what they did to me? Then the it's all from God card is not really performing the function it can. It doesn't relieve me of the weight of feeling like I'm a victim. And I speak to people that are very religious people. They believe in the Messiah and they believe in all the big concepts, the world to come and the revival of the dead, all the hard stuff of Judaism. Hard intellectually because they're not intellectual questions, right? These are questions of faith. But still, they'll believe all the concepts, but they still are holding to their victimization, their status, that persona, that somebody did something to me. I thought you just said it's all from God. No, but he still did. And so, you get to that place and you don't want to argue. So next, let's talk about something else. Why I bring this now is because if you look in the media, there is a standard victim profile. And, right now, because of the war in Israel, who are the victims? Well, we thought October 7th, the victims were these